It looks like great market pricing and declines for Prada at the start of trade today. What do you think about this IPO here, Prada in particular?
Well, I believe, in the short run, you have a lot of volatility here. Markets are weak. Volatility has jumped here in the U.S. They are negative in domestic China. Hong Kong is weak on the year. So there's definitely some negative kind of feedback sentiment, climbing into the Prada initial price dynamic. So we see it probably down a few percent today. I think in the short run, again, it's going to be a volatile stock. In the long run, however, it may actually be a very attractive offering, given that there's definitely some, very strong bidding activity potentially, for this type of company.
Yeah, that's right. You have brand recognition, and you also have potential growth, especially with the clamor for luxury items here in the Asia Pacific. So would you be advising investors to get in if there is a dip then in these shares?
I would advise investors really to take a little breath and probably get in like in the first 3 months of trading with a target of holding the company over a 4-year horizon. I think then we are going to really see the going public effect, what really this going public does to Prada. And I believe it opens a lot of opportunities for Prada, gets them away from the dependence on the debt market. It helps them to put a value on the firm. And again, it helps them to organically grow and potentially bring in, some bidding activity for the firm. I mean, LVMH probably sit on the sideline to see actually how Prada is doing and may actually take it over down the road. It's not going to happen immediately. I think the 4-year buy and hold perspective to that stock is really key here.
All right. Well, Josef, some people are balking at the expensiveness of this Prada listing. They're listing at over 20 times, basically, PE, whereas LVMH is trading below that 20 mark. Some are saying greed was basically the reason behind this disappointing IPO for Prada.
Yeah, I believe obviously the initial valuations are high, but they are high for any, high brand value, which, companies which are old, which have underlying revenues, which don't really need to go public, but they usually use the going public to do other things, down the road. We have seen, brand recognition always being associated with a high initial valuation. We saw that recently here with the Chicago Board of Option Exchange. You saw that historically with Visa, with MasterCard, with L'Occitane actually also in the Hong Kong market. Doesn't mean that it's going to, drop substantially, that it's going to underperform. But obviously, from a corporate perspective, Prada here is doing the right thing. They know they can, squeeze out, an extra dollar from the investor given, the brand recognition of the company.
Okay, one more question for you, Josef. After all these IPO disappointments, really, in terms of Glencore, Samsonite, MGM China still way below their offer price. What do you think the attractiveness of Hong Kong as an IPO center? There was a clamor of foreign companies to list, but after the disappointments we've even seen the U.S. IPO market perform better than Hong Kong. What about the attraction right now of HK as a listing center?
Well, I believe you need to decide, what kind of investor you are. If you're a short-term trader, you probably don't want to participate in Hong Kong IPOs, because obviously every IPO now is followed by another disappointing IPO down the road. So there are no initial returns. There's a risk money is going away from Hong Kong. For the long-run investor, I believe this kind of trend, what we see, especially in the Hong Kong market, will offer very attractive long-run buy and hold opportunities. Because why? Because companies which want to list, they have to list cheaper. They have to give a 5, 10, 15, 20% discount to come to the market at the expense of probably cutting the deal size, selling a little lesser equity on the market. But actually, given that, the long run, economic prospects for Hong Kong, for China are very positive, I believe down the road over the next 6, 12 months, there may be actually very good opportunities in Hong Kong IPOs once we go through this volatile cycle.